Welcome to the Devon Corner, where we talk about Devon cattle, the world's most practical breed. We're excited to have you here again. I'm the host, Steve Montgomery, here today with my co-host, Jeremy Yang, actually my guest for this episode, which is why we switched seats. I was actually thinking we should switch hats, but that doesn't work. So, Jeremy, I'm excited to talk to you about the national event that's coming up here at Lakota. I came here to grab some animals from you and to trade bulls, and we're going to do this together because this is where we're going to host the event coming up in October of 2026 this fall. So tell us a little bit about what's happening. Give us an overview of the event.
I get to be you today, so I get to remind you of our blessing first.
Yes, you do.
And as you've gotten me before, so
I'm a rusty one.
I will start us with a blessing. Thank you, Lord, for a beautiful day, for friendship, safe travels, the opportunity to get together with a friend and a colleague and talk cattle and enjoy the many blessings that we have in our lives together and celebrate Devon cattle and pasture stewardship and all the wonderful things that we get to do as we steward your land and your animals in our short time here. Please guide us to make wise decisions and to always be mindful of the blessings you bestow on us in our everyday lives. Amen.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Now that I'm done feeling like a 16-year-old learning how to drive, but go ahead and give us the overview. What's coming up this fall?
So we are excited. I think you can see the poster, but we had the event, as you know, up in Pennsylvania last year, and we have our annual event every year. And we've noticed over the last few years that attendance at these conferences and stuff has gone way down. And why aren't people coming out like they used to? Not just the Devon conference, but conferences in general. And when COVID happened, conferences went away, and I think people discovered that you can go on YouTube and hear from Steve Montgomery or Jeremy Yang or anybody else, and why pay to get a hotel and travel and do all that? And so me and my daughter Laurel riding home from the conference, kind of brainstorming, as we always do, what went good, what went bad, and sort of had this idea. My brother-in-law, Corey, who was sort of the inspiration for us to start this podcast, does a lot of interactive stuff with Disney and, immersive. Now you don't just go to Star Wars, you're a Jedi or you're whatever. And so we tried to have contests and competitions, less viewing, more doing. Get out of the classroom and get your hands in the dirt, smell the grass, get in the pens with the cattle, and do all that. So we've had this idea and then presented it to you and AJ and Amber and a lot of other folks, all the people involved in this. Well, everybody got really excited, and we did the podcast already with AJ, and as I said there, what started as a state contest, send them in, we'll look at them, tell you which we like the best. And now they're going to Penn State, they're getting sheer force tests done, they're getting some nutrient tests. They're still working it all out. The hate contest has changed too, and we'll talk about that more. But we're excited about the idea, and everybody that's involved that we've asked not only has been willing to participate, but excited. And so we're excited. So yeah, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd here at Lakota Ranch. We'll have a lot going on.
Yeah, so it's going to be more interactive, more doing, less viewing. So not passive learning, but engaged. So tell us a bit about that. Like what are each of the kind of points of engagement for people?
Yeah, so Thursday, October 1st is and I'll kind of run through the agenda at the same time.
Yep.
That's just going to be people dropping off animals, and we have an annual meeting every year.
Okay.
One thing that we also noticed was we do the annual meeting typically at the end of the event. Everybody's wore out. Well, it's the main reason we're there is to say is you're sending in a steak, they're going to get all kinds of testing done. We want grass-fed Devon is what we're really after, but we've got some veal coming in, we've got some crossbred stuff coming in. What do you want to get out of it? It's kind of like the bull test that we run here. Some people are putting their bulls here because they want to sell bulls and make a lot of money. Some are putting bulls here because they want to test different genetic lines. How do they do versus each other? Some people are putting cattle here because they want to test their bulls against mine, against somebody. So I think that's the same with this. Are you testing your steak because you want to see how you measure to everybody else? If you're better than everybody else, are you sending in an average steak that you do or the best steak that you do? And you can do both, right?
So logistically, we send in one steak, two, like like if I want to do kind of the best that I could produce and an average one, kind of middle of the road. I mean, you did this with AJ, but just for here to recap, what's specific?
So you're going to send 2 bone-in ribeyes
Okay.
of each sample of each entry.
Okay.
And 1 bone-in ribeye is going to be destroyed in the testing process. They're going to do the shear force, and they're going to cook some of it, and they're going to color score and marble score and all these things. 1 is going to be on display at the event,
Okay.
so that you and I can walk down and go, steak number 3, the best looking steak. Now steak number 7, and then at the end we'll have the reveal. You know what the judges thought.
So most of the testing and scoring will be done ahead of time.
Will be done ahead of time.
Okay, gotcha. And then they come with all that compilation, and then we get to look at things. Does our observing change anything, or they know the winner when they come?
They won't know the winner when they come, but before they leave, they'll know the winner that the judges pick.
Okay.
Now, it's just like the cattle show. Just because the judge says that that's the best heifer doesn't make it the best heifer. It's a person's opinion. However, our cattle judge is an industry expert. Our state contest judges are industry experts, right? All of our, judges, instructors, are experts. So and it's the same with what was going to be a hay contest has now evolved into a forage contest.
Right.
And
Can you talk about why?
when we talked about a hay contest, we're just adding another event. I mean, it's right up the alley of what we all do, but it's been done. There's a lot of hay contests out there. I don't know of any forage contests. And so we're kind of reinventing these things as we go. So with this forage contest, you're going to go out the hula hoop, throw it down in the field when you're ready to graze, before your animals go in there. You're going to take a photograph, and what we want to see is the pasture diversity. You're going to clip 2 samples. And I should also say that all these, go to Red Devon USA, download the forms, because we're tweaking them as we go. But in short, you'll put this hula hoop down, you'll take a photograph, and you'll take 2 samples. You'll cut 2 swaths of grass. 1 will be sent to Cumberland Lab in Maryland, and you'll have an entry sheet. You'll download off Red Devon USA. You'll fill it out. You'll send it in. You'll take the second sample and you'll dry it. So just like if you went to pick some rosemary or lavender out of your herb garden, you would take that, you would tie it around the base and hang it somewhere in the dark. So it doesn't get bleached by the sun. We don't want it to get too dry, right? It's going to take a little bit of management, right? You need to get the moisture right in it. But when that's, and we'll detail that on the website too, but when that's accomplished, you'll send it to Amber Hines, who's running the contest. And same thing, that will be on display at the event. So you and I can walk through and look at, hey, here's some orchard grass and red clover, and over here some Bermuda grass, and to me this looks like the best pasture. This is the more nutritious grass. It looks a darker green. It feels softer. It smells better. Whatever if I'm going to win this contest, maybe I put down some seed and I fertilize this patch a little bit heavier, and I compost tea it or whatever you believe, is going to help it, and you grow it, and we encourage both.
Yeah.
Right? Same
So,
thing with the steak contest.
Yeah. Just like the premium animal and the average one. Like, what information is going to be helpful for us to know about our operations?
Absolutely.
And we also might be able to beat somebody out and win the forage contest or the steak contest.
Exactly. Well, and it's also, I do a lot of consulting work, as you know, and for years was soil analysis. It all starts with a soil.
Huh.
And I still believe it all starts with a soil. But the soil analysis tells me what's in the soil. The tissue analysis in the forest tells me what's bioavailable to the animal when they go in there to graze, right? How much selenium's in the soil is great to know, but if none of it's coming through the plant into the animal, then obviously that changes at different times of the year too. So it does take some stewardship and management, but that's it. We're all learning, right? Through all of this.
If I can add something, when we were talking about this on the board, Amber, when she kind of rolled it out to the board, this change from hay to forage, the thing that stuck out to me most was that some people are buying in hay, but we're all grass feeding our cow. And so it actually makes more sense for Red Devon USA at our event to do a forage contest. I think that's awesome. And I mean, if one thing I definitely want all of us to kind of turn through our head is this is adding so much value to what we can take away from the event. It's more doing, less viewing. We're not standing back at a distance. We're actually gaining, participating, and seeing fruit from it. So the more we have submissions to this, the more information will go back to the people where it really matters. And that's huge. I mean, that's a big twist. I like it.
Well, and whether you put forage or steak or show an animal at the event, you're helping with breed promotion.
Right.
Now we can say 45 meat samples, bone-in ribeyes were sent in on grass-fed Devon from around the country. 80% of them graded choice. This many of them were, we can extrapolate a whole bunch of information that's valuable to promote the breed, but also valuable to tell us, is there something we're not as good at as we thought? Is there something we're more exceptional than everybody else at? It should be very revealing, which is cool.
And playful, which will make it fun.
Yeah.
So, and another part of that is the auction of the steaks after the fact, right? So these are submitted for samples. It's basically offering that to get tested. But then at the event, we're hoping to do a dinner auction so that you can bid on the best. So you'll be buying mine probably. Best steak of the, well, anyway, the
And
point
with your prices, it'll probably be cheaper here.
at the auction, that's right. That's right.
No, that's a great point, and to expand on that, we go to some of these events, and not just Red Devon USA, but you go to a grazing conference somewhere, and you get potato salad and fried chicken for lunch, and a piece of cake. Like, we're serving Devon beef at every meal here. So on Friday and during the whole event, Saturday at the banquet, will all be Devon beef. So the second steak in the steak contest will be here on display. After it's on display, right, it'll be on ice under plastic. But the idea being so we can engage with Chef Pete and with Son of a Butcher AJ and why? Why was this? And what is it that you like about it? Because this one looks better. And these aren't guys that are going to back down from the question or be offended by explain this to me. These guys love to teach and engage. And the podcast I did with them, I walked away like, okay, I've got to start cooling them different. I've got to start doing this different. But that second steak will auction off the winners. That'll be served, so you'll get priority seating and a steak, not just cooked, but cooked by Chef Pete Stein, right? And all the magic that he's going to put with it. when you sign up for the event, you're going to put your level of expertise and knowledge in soil and pasture. People that haven't done it a lot are going to be doing basic stuff like raising sticks and some forage identification and just so everybody will get all of it. But we're going to cater. We're going to try to put groups together of beginners, intermediate, and really advanced. And I think it behooves the attendee to be in the right group so you're not in over your head or bored with it. But we're going to go out. We're going to look at water infiltration. We're going to look at root depth. We're going to look at soil biology and microbiology as much as we can. Forages, diversity, quality, all of it. And we'll take cattle off of it, obviously, and let it grow and mature pieces of it. And we'll go through each pack. That'll be the what takes the most time on Friday. But it does all start with the soil. We are all grazers, as you just said. And if you have Devon cattle, you have a machine built for converting cellulose grass into glucose, right? And converting that energy makes our job. How good a grass can we grow, right? And can we get our stocking rate right? Not that the particular animal doesn't matter, right? But this is what they do and are bred for. So it's a huge part of what we do. We'll also do a stock dog demo, and there'll be plenty of time for people, of course, to go out and see the herd, go back out after we reveal the winners of these things, and we put up the soil analysis and forage analysis, and we'll do pain test, some more extensive tests on these plots too. But there'll be time to go back out, and our instructors are going to be at the meals and things and be around again. Everybody here is, they're not reciting rehearsed presentations. Right? These are people that work in this all the time, and I'm blown away by all of them. They're all great at what they do.
Again, adding so much value to what we take home and be able to see them on which has been some of the sweetness of through the years of being at these things, but this seems like it's like plus that. Talk about the cattle show.
100%. That's the one thing we haven't talked about, that and the photo contest. So, national show, right? We in Red Devon, USA, do it very different than most shows, as we've seen when we've attended some more conventional shows. But we have a what we call pen show. So the idea is you go out in the pasture and pluck out your best cows and bring them to the show. Obviously you got to get your blood work, your health papers and stuff, but they're not kept in a pen, they're not fed up, they're not halter broke, led around. It's not a stockmanship show. We tell our judge, of all these heifers, if they all cost $5,000 and you can only take one home, which one would it be? Right. That's your first place animal. Tommy Clark is our judge. Tommy filled in for us years ago. Dr. Betty Sue Molino was supposed to come from Brazil and judge, and the government shut down anyway. Flights couldn't come into the U.S. from Brazil. She couldn't come. Tommy filled in last minute as a favor and did as good a better job than anybody we've had. I mean, he's of the same school of thought as I am, which I like, which is you have primary traits and secondary traits. If you don't have a decent udder, a feminine cow, good feet, legs, all over teeth, then what are we looking at? Hair swirls and other stuff for you. And not to take away from that other stuff, but if your feet point this way, Devon show is always a lot of fun. We get people from, as you know, western Mississippi, the far north, the south. We get them from all over. Um, we've had some great judges over the years. We've had some uh, pattern of better cattle. The last decade has just been, you and I have talked about it before with the World Devon Congress and the other tours we've done, how the average Devon cow has just gotten so much better in the last 10 years. And the same thing in the show. Me and David Fell did a video last year at the event. We'll do the same thing this year. Either me and David or me and Tommy the judge, but try to give everybody a better view. But there wasn't a cow in the barn I would have taken home second last year. So
And part of that's just learning better management. I know for me, coming to events like this has been some of the most fertilizer for that process, feedback, good relationship, shoulder to shoulder with you in the field. Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, you've got to. I see a pattern with people that in this industry that they decide they want to get into grass-fed beef production, sustainable ag, right? And maybe they haven't even had chickens yet, but whatever they do, they get their farm and they buy some chickens and a couple of cows and they get started and they're eager to learn. They're going to conferences, they're reading these books, and they're asking questions, and they're seeing it, and then they get a few more cows and they expand a little bit and they start making hay, and now they add some hogs. Right? All of a sudden you're so busy, it becomes full time, and your education either stops or slows way down. And books are great, the internet's great, but going to somebody else's place, seeing their cattle, seeing what they do, they may be doing something that you do much better than they do, and you go, wow, I'm far better. Maybe you can help them. But you also see some things and you go, I wonder if we couldn't do that the same way or a little different. Or same thing in my consulting work. Man, the pay, it doesn't make it worth it. But you add the networking and you add, God, that bull Steve brought in produced the worst calves I've ever seen. I'm so glad I didn't use any of that seed. Or, man, them heifers Steve's got on the ground are cracker jack, right? Right? How do I, Steve, how do I get some of that semen? Right? And, it's much less expensive for me to learn on your time and dollar, right? You've invested in all these genetics and time and grown them, and I get to go determine in a second whether that warrants further investigation or not. And now if I go to AJ's place and then to Bob's place and I see the same thing, well, that just seals the deal, either for the good or the bad, right? And same thing here. But here it's going to be, you get to see the biggest Devon herd in the country. I like to think one of the better ones. You get to see everybody else's showcase animals that they're bringing in. You get to see steak, everybody's past. I mean, it's going to be, it's going to be cool.
Okay, let's circle back to the photo contest, because this is another one I think is going to be really fun, like something we can all participate in and go.
Yeah, so for years we did Devon calendars. I've probably got some of them in here. Joan Harris up in New York painted and sketched up calendars for a couple of years that were just out of this world. And then ADCA and had, I don't remember a photo contest so much as just producing a calendar, right? But the idea behind this is you send in your photographs and judges are going to select what are the best photos. And I was happy to kind of step away from this one, A, because I want to participate, but B, I'm always interested to see what people, if I go on Facebook, somebody's got a picture of a cow and they're leaning in and their head's huge and their butt's small and they get a million likes. Well, to me, I can't even see the cow, right? I need her broadside, I need to see her udder, I need her feet square, I need her to look so we're trying to work out some advertising, some details. We have a meeting, me and my daughter Laurel and AJ and Madison on Thursday, tomorrow, to kind of nail that down. So all of this is getting finalized, but at the end of the day, it's going to be one fee to send in one photo. You can send in the next 4 photos, much cheaper. I think is what we're going to do. Again, revert to the website, but so a limit on how many you can put in. The things I know, it's going to have to be a high res. You know, if it's something that's going to pixelate when it's, then that's not going to work. You know, if your cow's fuzzy on the far hill, it's probably not going to be that great. But picture your favorite cow, picture of your herd, picture of. We have pictures riding on ours. You know, people do all kinds of different things. So, yeah, it should be cool. And you know, the whole other thing with this is, for years, if you wanted to participate and win something at our annual event, you either had to be in the business 20 years and get the Stuart Fowler Award, or bring an animal halfway across the country, show it, win, and get an award that way. Now, some people don't have the time or the resources to do those things. Now you can enter your forage, you can enter your photos, you can, I mean, for $50 you're in the casino, right? You go to the casino, you might be at the $100 blackjack table and I'm playing nickel slots, but at least we're both being entertained and have a chance of walking home with more in our pocket than we started with.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, there's lots of ways to participate. Even people can submit photos, submit stakes, submit forage, and not have to be here.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
that's a possibility. So,
100%.
this has the ability. I love it. It has the ability to reach all the way to the edges of our membership. I mean, it'd be fun to get some folks that are members or listening on this podcast from Australia to send stakes. I mean, they're gonna have to send them way overnight.
Right?
But it'd be fun. I mean, the sky's the limit on that, right? It'd be really neat to see how this all can play out. So, thanks for coming up with the idea, to you and Laurel. That was a fun initial conversation, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. Give us a real quick. Let's wrap it up with where can we find out this information again? And I just want to maybe before I hand it back to you, plug that our annual meeting is going to be on Thursday night the 1st. And so members should plan to be here when the cattle start rolling in sometime Thursday afternoon, evening. The meeting will be that evening, and then it'll be casual hangout time, and then Friday starts all this contest and education space. So plan on a 3-day weekend at least for this. But give us the overview of the schedule quick and the details. Where do we find more information?
Yeah, so reddevonusa.com is definitely the place to go. We're going to be distributing stuff with a QR code and with the website all over it.
Yeah.
But everything leads you to one page at Red Devon USA. And on that page, you can download the forms for any of these contests. You can find out where you're mailing your samples, you know, your email and your photographs. If you have particular questions, it'll tell you state contest, call AJ. The national show, call my daughter Laurel. You know, you can call me, email me, Steve, our president, Bob Van Kirk, on any of these things and get more information. But every form will be up there, the rules will be up there, and our webmaster is building our page right now where you're gonna, just like you went on Amazon, I'm gonna put 2 tickets in the shopping cart. You can buy a ticket for just Friday, just Saturday, or for the whole weekend. Obviously, it's cheaper if you do it all. You can get your state contest entries. You can do whatever. We will have a mail option for those that don't have internet, but we're hoping most folks can do it that way. It makes our record keeping and everything streamlined and a whole lot easier. But certainly reach out with any questions. But Red Devon USA, click on 2026 national event. And everything will be on that page. And if you don't, you know how to email me. It's on the end of this podcast and YouTube video.
Awesome. Thank you. It's exciting. We're looking forward to being here and eating some good steak.
Well, thank you. I know when we left the event and me and Laurel talked for an hour, you were the first person we called, kind of bounced it off, and your excitement, like as we presented it, and then talked to AJ, and then talked to Bob, and then talked to Ray. And then I was nervous. Well, am I going to be able to get these people and everybody? Of course, it helps when you're planning a year out, right? To get it done. But we got the dream team. So I'm blessed to be surrounded by good people that know what they're doing and are good teachers and want to teach and share. And it's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for saying that. We just a nuts and bolts thing about this is there are different deadlines for the contests. So and part of that is because of the extensive testing that has to happen. So this is to the listeners, to the viewers. Don't hesitate to go and find out that information and get your samples in. We need to get that stuff moving quicker rather than later. If you wait till August, it'll be too late for most of the things.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking to wrap most things up in June, which isn't that far from now. The forage contest will go a little bit longer. I think the photo contest can go a little bit longer, but as you say, it's going to take time to do the testing and get the materials, because we want to present all this data and have it all compiled for, a lot of what you get isn't an award. It's the data that you're going to get back that you can use to promote your product, improve your product, speak intelligently about your products, right?
Great. Thanks again. Good to host you and have you as a guest as well as a co-host. Thank you.
I like that we keep it fresh and make it up as we go.
Yep. This has been the Devon Corner, where we've talked extensively about the world's most practical breed. Thanks.
Amen.